Hi, Kamakshi.
Hi. Hey, Anand. It's
How
been
are
a
you?
while.
Yes. This is actually the first time we're actually having a one-on-one
Yeah,
conversation.
that's true.
For everybody who's going to be watching this, Kamakshi and I are going to be interviewing each other.
Yes.
And I have never done this before. I have never interviewed anybody else. Forget an artist or a fellow artist or a vocalist or a musician.
Yeah.
So I think this is a new experience for me.
Definitely for me too.
Let's get to our first question, which is I'm going to be the interviewer for this question, guys. So, what is a skill that you've learned recently? What is a new skill, rather, that you've learned
Hmm.
recently?
So, music related, I've recently been learning a little bit about production.
Hmm.
I think I learned a lot uh, with my last release with Sangeeta. It's a song called Swimming.
Hmm.
I think in that project, I learned a lot about just like how to produce music. It was the first time I was releasing a song that I produced. And another thing that I learned through that process was how to like make a music video happen with
Hmm.
like, an independent music video, how to like source locations. So I think that project taught me a lot. But otherwise, I recently learned how to make risotto,
Hmm.
and
Oh,
I
nice.
absolutely I'm never doing it again. It's the
Why?
worst. It's the hardest thing to cook. But yeah, so that's something I learned. What about you? What is something that you're trying to get better at the moment, musically or even otherwise?
Musically, so everything I have ever composed so far has been
Hmm.
by ear. I
Oh
have
wow,
zero. I have zero music theory knowledge.
that's
Uh,
incredible.
and as in I've studied Indian classical music. So when but then deep inside I'm a rock musician. So I think when I
Oh
picked up the
wow.
guitar, I figured out the correlations between the
Hmm.
Indian musical concepts as vis-a-vis the Western musical concepts. So my current focus is on learning music theory,
Oh
and
wow,
yeah, so
that's
that's what
nice.
I'm doing, and also simultaneously, I mean, learning music theory by way of learning the piano,
Okay.
which I have been royally like unsuccessful at so far,
Hmm.
considering whatever's been going on in my life.
Hmm.
That aside, a new skill that I tried to learn but couldn't sort of see it through
Hmm.
uh, was acting. I
Oh
actually joined.
wow.
I actually joined a theater group, and my goal was not to like go for auditions or act like
Hmm.
in a film or a web series. My goal was to make my live performances a little more uninhibited. I mean,
Hmm.
I feel I take pride in the fact that my band puts up great live performances.
Hmm.
I just thought that my interaction with the audience could be a little more like little more smooth, like a
Hmm.
little smoother than what it is right now. And I thought doing theater will really help me with it, and it does. It did.
Wow,
Yeah, I
that's
did four
amazing.
months of theater, and I still can't act for
No,
shit. But
but I think that's incredible. And
yeah,
that's a great idea. I would also maybe definitely consider
you
going
should
for theater
definitely do it.
classes.
You should definitely do it.
Yeah. And
It's
just
why I'm.
generally, like a lot of times as musicians, where we, I mean, just by default and like as an occupational hazard, we end up being on camera so much and
True,
doing these kind of things where we're
true, true.
interacting or, being on stage and talking to the audience. So I think I'm sure it helps with everything, all the
Yeah,
stuff that nobody tells you that you have to be good at.
it's what makes me a fan of Sangeeta and
Exactly.
Nisa Shetty.
Yeah.
Both of them very good actors,
They're
very
amazing.
good singers, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what the hell? Yeah, Sangeeta can even dance, no? Like, I mean,
Yeah. She danced in the swimming music video. If
I've
you
seen
see
it.
that part, and
I've seen it. I've heard it. I
it's
saw the
amazing.
the day you guys posted about it. I said this is a collaboration I'm waiting for, something like that.
Yeah.
I had commented. I remember, and yeah, I mean, so when I see these people, I'm like, what the hell have I been doing? Yeah, matlab, with my life, it's so
I'm in the
unidirectional.
same boat, man.
you know?
Completely.
Yeah. So
Yeah. But that's great. I think dancing and acting is something I also just want to learn,
hmm.
just to learn it, just to kind of get more comfortable with my body and just get comfortable with being on camera and
Yeah,
performing.
dancing is something I don't see myself doing. I mean, I don't mind giving it a
Hmm.
shot,
Yeah.
but I just know within my heart that I'll terribly suck at it.
Same, dude.
Like my
Like, I
wife,
think it's one of those. I think the beauty of a hobby is that you are allowed to suck at it. Like, you don't have to
yeah,
be good at it
yeah,
at
that's
all.
true. That's true. That's true. Like my wife is a great dancer.
Oh, wow.
But she studied dancing as well, and she's like, for somebody who does music, you have no sense of rhythm.
That's
So
hilarious.
yeah, so that.
Yeah.
So how do you look for collaborators, Kamakshi?
So honestly, everybody I've worked with till now has been someone that I've either been friends with or cross paths with. So I think for me, the first and most important thing is the conversations and how they flow
Hmm.
and how much you like connect on a human level. Um, and then
Very
after
true.
that, I think the musical part of it just gets is more exciting when you actually get the person, and sometimes those conversations could just be uh, about music as well. Like if you hear some of their work and you want to talk to them about it more,
Hmm.
um, I think for me that's an important part. Like how do you feel around the person, the energy of the person.
True.
So yeah,
True.
that's what I look for.
True. True.
And
That's actually a very important part.
mm,
Uh, they need to add to your energy. Really,
yeah,
I think I'm a huge believer of the whole
exactly.
universe concept. That they
Hmm.
need to add something to your universe, and
Yeah,
they need to fan your fire, and you need to fan their fire.
absolutely. Yeah.
For me, so I look for collaborators by literally randomly digging around for uh,
Hmm.
music, especially from our country.
Yeah.
And a lot of the singers that I work with on my projects, I've literally like come across their videos
Hmm.
of singing into the camera on Facebook or on Instagram,
Oh wow.
and then I've texted them or added them,
Hmm.
and then like I've had a conversation with them. So one of my friends, Shubhangi Joshi, great
Hmm.
singer songwriter.
Yeah, she's amazing. I've heard her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I saw her balcony TV, the
Hmm.
first balcony TV video she did. Um, and I was like, shit, this is good. She's really good. And I just added her. And then now we're like the best of friends. And like,
Hmm.
we haven't collaborated so far, but it's just an
Hmm.
example.
Yeah.
And so many other singers that I've worked with, it's always been like this. You have a great voice. Please send me your work and
Hmm.
we'll do this, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
like even in terms of the kind of work that you do, I feel like you've done so much in films and ads and TV shows and all of that. So like how do you go about uh, how is that process of collaboration when you're working for a project different from like, working for your own independent music?
Uh, with independent music, right now my only outlet is Anand Bhaskar Collective,
Hmm.
and this year I'm going to like probably release
By the way, I have a
more.
fun fact that I wanted to tell you.
Oh, okay.
My best friend used your song in her wedding video.
Oh,
Yeah.
what's her name?
Her name is Himani.
Himani.
Yeah.
Himani
Nath.
Binepal.
No, no, Himani Nath. I
Himani
hope
Nath.
you know
Okay,
about this. If you don't, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
But
That's okay.
but it
So
was
we've
pretty cool.
our music. I've been told this by other people as well that our
Yeah,
music
Mera
has been.
Safar. That song.
Yeah, that's one
Yeah.
song that everybody uses in their wedding video.
Yeah.
And um, I mean, I feel it's an honor to be included in
Absolutely.
somebody's somebody's most one of the most precious milestones
Hmm.
of their life.
Hmm.
It's a great honor, really.
Yeah.
Anyway, but coming to the artistic expression bit. So
Hmm.
that's my band, Anand
Hmm.
Bhaskar Collective, is this thing. It's the only outlet right now I have
Hmm.
for artistic expression that's not governed by anybody else but
Hmm.
by me and my bandmates.
Hmm.
You know, but when it comes to other projects, I like to see this as a hierarchy. Like for
Hmm.
example, if a director has come to me with a vision, he, uh, so for example, the web series that I'm working on right now is based in Punjab,
Hmm.
and the music that's expected that the director expected me to write for it was a combination of folk music with live elements,
Hmm.
but also very synth driven music. So it's a hybrid international sounding score.
Hmm.
uh, so while I continue writing the way I write for my band, but I modify it to fit my
Hmm.
director's vision.
Hmm.
And uh, personally, I'd like to think that I am a director's composer. Like,
Hmm.
I can work with any director,
Hmm.
provided they let me do my thing, and then
Hmm.
then they let me modify it to meet their vision. So
Hmm.
that's how I manage. And as far as ads are concerned, ads may are ads is extremely brief centric, you know.
Hmm.
So my general approach is, first I will do whatever the hell I want to do. If they
Hmm.
like it, then it just goes through. If
Works,
they
yeah.
don't like it, then I do exactly what they want to do,
That's smart.
you know.
That
So
makes sense.
so yeah, that's pretty much it. And then films, it's just a whole other
Hmm.
universe.
Hmm.
Some producers will say कि मुझे ऐसा गाना चाहिए,
Hmm.
and they come only with like कि अरिजीत से गवाएं कि उससे गवाएं,
Hmm.
उससे गवाएं, and that is a conversation that really puts me off. So
Hmm.
usually, like, either I sabotage that project,
Hmm.
or I like, you know, like, probably don't do much about it, because
Hmm.
you know, I'd like to go with my singers, and I'd like to fight for my singers, because
Yeah.
as a composer, I know whose voice really fits on my
Exactly.
songs,
Yeah.
you know. So that's just a whole other
It
ball
adds
game.
to your energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so I mean, I think I learned about differentiating between all these avenues
Hmm.
very early on in my career by watching other people do it. There are
Hmm.
so many other people, other composers who, like Amit Trivedi, will do stuff differently for his 80 Azad,
Hmm.
and then he'll do stuff differently for like the films that he does,
Yeah.
you know. And like, he's always been a great model, role model for
Hmm.
me. And so yeah, like, there are other people like him in the industry who
Hmm.
who have differentiated passion projects versus paycheck projects,
Yeah.
you know. So
Absolutely.
that's one way to look at it. Anyway, like, in the independent music scenario, so to speak,
Hmm.
you're already there, you've made your mark. What does it feel like to, like, you know, also lend your
Hmm.
voice to commercial projects, something non-independent, you know,
Hmm.
something based on a brief? What does it feel like for you?
So, I mean, my first time was better than anything I could have possibly like fathomed, and I don't think it's like still quite hit me. But the fact that a song that I wrote with a completely like intention of it being an independent song to be picked up for a show like the Fame Game with Madhuri Dixit was something I wouldn't have like ever put together. Like, what? Like, that's a possibility that I never would have thought of. So I wouldn't say that it was like me doing it, like it wasn't me working for a brief or working for a film. It was a song
Mm-hmm.
that just fit exactly what the
It's a
story that they were trying
it's
to
a
tell.
very catchy melody. I mean,
Thank you.
every time I hear a song, my first reaction would be, I would have written that. If I like it, I
Oh,
like, I would have written
thank you.
something like that for sure. Like,
Thank you.
that's my vibe, you know.
Hmm.
So when I heard Dur, that was my vibe.
Thank
So
you so
yeah,
much.
yeah.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
carry on. I cut
No,
you
no, no,
there.
no
I just
worries.
wanted to compliment you on the song.
Thank you. The song was honestly like, but if you think about the way we worked, I really owe everything that's happened to this song to my collaborators, Kabir and Sameer and Karun. Like, we
Mm,
worked as a huge like team to make every step happen. Like, I knew that my lyrics are not cutting it, not being able to like convey the emotion that I really wanted to say in an impactful
mm,
way. So I reached out to Sameer. He co-wrote the song with me. I knew that like in terms of production, I wasn't able to like, really find the song wasn't finding a home for
mm,
where
mm,
how it
mm,
needed to sound, how it needed
mm,
to leave an impact. So I reached out to Kabir, and I think it wouldn't have been in a show if it wasn't for them, because they really made it sound like it needed to sound. I think I really feel very grateful that I got to work with them. But apart from that, Modern Love is the first time that I've composed and sung a song to a brief. I got to
mm,
work with Gaurav Raina and Ankur Tiwari and Tarana Marwa, a lot of amazing people
mm,
who basically like we wrote like 6 different versions of the song, 2 different productions, like lots and lots of reiterations for it to finally reach a point of getting approved. And that was honestly as taxing as it can be. It was an amazing process. I absolutely love, maybe it's also like my first time, so I don't know how much I'll always love it, but I love working with people. I really love working with a team. When somebody tells you, gives you ideas, it just feels so much like if you feel supported, you feel like you're doing something larger than just you and your thoughts and your ideas.
Hmm.
um, and I think the story that we've written for is really sweet, it's really special. And um, it was it was by the end of it, it's a pop happy, like disco song that you're going to be hearing. But it was really hard to write. Like sometimes writing like the simplest catchy songs is the
Yeah.
hardest thing to do. So I
True.
think I learned a lot in that process, and I'm sure that I want to do this a lot more. Like I want to compose, I want to write, I want to get better at writing lyrics in Hindi, in English, both. So I think there's so many like I'm excited right now. Like that's my state of mind. I'm finally, like, it feels like there's a lot of cool things happening, and I want to be able to be a part of whatever I can be a part of.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, and I think a lot has changed over time about the industry. I think I've we've been in it for a long time. Actually, I've been doing it for 10 years. But you as a person have been doing so many different things. Like you've done independent music, you've worked in like commercial music, and you've also you like seen those lines getting blurry. You have your own like cult following of your music. You worked with so many different people, so many directors. What are some things that you would like to see change in the Indian independent music industry? It's a
Uh,
loaded question.
it is. That's like a Pandora's box waiting to be opened. But yeah, the thing is now, I'm a middle-aged man now. So I've frankly like really stopped caring about the things that I used to like really
Hmm.
passionately care about.
Hmm.
And so when I used to care about those things, one of the things that I really wanted to change was the whole cliquey culture that we have. And
Hmm.
it's a culture we have across all industries, not just
Hmm.
independent music industry, but
Hmm.
I find it especially a little stronger
Hmm.
in the independent industry. It's
Hmm.
it's very clique led. Like
Hmm.
you need to be cool enough or
Hmm.
look cool enough. You need to look a certain way or talk a certain way to be, on festival rosters
I
or
relate to that.
or
Absolutely.
it doesn't matter if you have a great fan following. It does not
Hmm.
matter if you have videos of you performing to thousands of people, but if you don't look a certain way or don't perform in a certain language,
Hmm.
uh, English, or if you don't
Hmm.
uh, I mean, there are these check boxes
Hmm.
that you need to check if
Yeah.
you're uh, if you are to be considered to be included,
Hmm.
so to speak. So I feel that is something that I would really like to change.
Hmm.
um, I feel, I mean, if I in the next 10 years, if I still have the passion and enthusiasm for music left in me,
Hmm.
I would eventually want to become a record producer and
Hmm.
maybe start a
Wow.
label. And I personally feel that the purpose of my life is
Hmm.
not music. The
Hmm.
purpose of my life is to help other people who have talent in them to,
Hmm.
to do music.
Hmm.
That's my purpose. Since the time I quit my job, I think I made at least 50 people quit their jobs
Hmm.
and got them to start doing music.
Sorry, where were
You
you
know,
working before music?
I was in advertising for 10
Oh,
years.
cool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's one thing that I'd really like to change.
Hmm.
About the powers that be who
Hmm.
control the independent music scene.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's a controversial statement to make, but it is
Hmm.
what it is. Which is something that pushes me to like organizations like a Humming Heart,
Hmm.
because so far what I've seen is that they are impartial. you
Hmm.
know
Yeah.
they like good music and they will promote it.
Hmm.
They will, if it's just that, there is nothing else.
Hmm.
And there are these initiatives. There's this AHH fund that you collect
Hmm.
for upcoming artists.
Hmm.
Then there are these regular podcasts, and then there's that Google form which asks
Hmm.
independent artists to submit their music. You're getting people to talk about unheard of talents. And that's what really, when I was in corporate, when I was at a desk job, one of my bosses said that a good manager's job is to make sure that he develops new good managers,
Hmm.
whoever is reporting to them, right?
Yeah.
I feel a successful musician's biggest responsibility is to spawn a generation of good musicians, you know.
Absolutely.
And I think that is something that I would like to change
Hmm.
about the independent scene.
Hmm.
And there are some people who are out there who are actually doing their bit, like
Hmm.
uh, Ankur, for that matter. Like,
Hmm.
like he recommended me for Mirzapur.
Oh, wow.
He I think he must have recommended you for something.
For
I mean,
yeah, fame
yes,
game. Yeah.
yeah. So and he has his finger on the pulse.
Hmm.
Like what's going on in the indie scene, that I can sort of pull out and like sort of plug it here,
I
plug
think
it there.
they're also so connected, like the music that you make and write,
Yeah,
and you helping the industry. Like they're both kind of two worlds that can collide, and they do so beautifully with Ankur, because
correct,
I think
correct.
it's him doing what he does that inspires a lot of people to follow through and follow foot. And he also recognizes and pushes new talent. And he's
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
those people who does it very like quietly. Like there's no, you know, like, you know what I mean? This might be controversial, but it's not like he's trying to show anything. He just
No,
really
no, no, no.
helps
You
people
only you only
genuinely.
see you only
Yeah.
see like his name in the credits and like, oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
That's why. Yeah.
Like if
Exactly.
when Modern Love happened and then I saw these indie artists, I was like, Ankur. I didn't
Yeah.
even see him tagged or whatever. I just,
Yeah.
in my head, I went like, Ankur. Must be
Yeah.
Ankur for
He's
sure.
definitely someone who's
Yeah,
changing the game
yeah,
for the
I met
better.
him at Lucky
Yeah.
Ali's um, album launch,
Hmm.
Abhi, and I was generally meeting new people there,
Hmm.
and then I was telling this new person that he recommended me for Mirzapur,
Hmm.
Ankur, and Ankur was here. He's like, यही तो मेरा काम है.
Hmm.
आप लोग जानते हो एक दूसरे को? नहीं
Hmm.
जानते? ये लो काम करो साथ में.
Yeah.
Like that's his. He literally said that.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I mean that's a great example, yeah, of how
Yeah.
you can use your influence.
That's
Ankur is
very
pretty
inspiring
influential.
for sure.
Yeah, you can use your influence and you can use your uh, sort of connections to really like, because honestly speaking, up until the age of 33 I was working, and I um, I had no courage in me to do music. I was like,
Hmm.
either music is for the incredibly rich people
Hmm.
or for someone who doesn't have anything to lose,
Hmm.
you know. But then when I started doing music and I started approaching it strategically like a business, and
Hmm.
understanding the nuances of the business, I realized, yeah, I could have done this. I
Hmm.
mean, I wouldn't say I regret it, but there's
Hmm.
always this thought, nagging thought, yeah, like, I could have spent my 20s
Hmm.
doing music and I could have been a much better musician now, you know. So that doesn't happen. If for that to
Hmm.
not happen to others, you know, I've made it my life's mission to make
Hmm.
sure that if I identify somebody with great potential,
Hmm.
I will help them out in whatever way I can.
Hmm.
And then baki to it's up to them, yeah. I mean, you can only help people who want to help themselves,
Exactly.
you know. So
That's that's amazing. And it's also really interesting what you said, that I could have done this in my 20s. Sometimes I have the complete opposite idea, that I've been doing music. That's the only thing I've ever done, only thing I've ever been good at or known. Um, and sometimes I wonder what it would be like to actually do something else. So sometimes, like what you said, right? Like the willpower and the enthusiasm of
hmm.
doing something for so long. I often think about what life would be like if I tried something else, but I don't think that's happening.
No,
Uh,
but I'm sure you'll get to it when the
yeah,
time is right, right?
exactly.
It's just that. So
But
for now,
it's changed so much. Like since I think I started in 20, I used to actually sing backup vocals for Euphoria for the first 2 years of my
okay.
career. I
Hmm.
think in 2011 or something. So since then, I've been like doing music, and a lot has changed. A lot of things have changed, and I think it's because of people like you who have that intention to help people, for to just make the industry as a whole a better place for everybody. So, yeah, I think for me, one thing that I'm really passionate about is women in the music industry,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
taking up more space, doing cooler, like amazing things, and just filling up rooms, like seeing
That's
more
true.
women
That's true.
around. Like
Every
that's,
every singer I work with, I
yeah.
make it. my life's mission to like push them towards music production.
Yeah.
Every
Mm.
female vocalist I've met, and you
Yeah.
can like confirm it with Ishita or
That's amazing.
Shilpa Saroj. Or Shilpa
Yes.
Saroj, by the way, is another great vocalist who
Hmm.
loves Dur.
Oh, really?
Every time she's in my room,
Nice.
she's like singing the melody. She's like, I love it so much. Anyway,
That's really sweet.
I digress. So yeah, I think in India, the number of women composers can be
Yeah.
counted on one single hand,
Yeah,
and
not just
that
that, like you go for festivals. It's sometimes I notice it. I look around me and I'm like, why am I the only woman here? Like, I want
yeah,
more women around me,
true.
And I think that's something I'm passionate about.
I
And there's
think
an
that's
organization that, like,
yeah.
we're starting, a bunch of my friends and
Hmm, hmm,
we're trying to, like, make this a thing for people to talk about, just more conversations around having more women in music, making it a safer place for women. That's
true.
something that I like, because you can't fix everything, but
That's
you can
true.
find like one thing that you feel passionate about and kind of work towards it. So
I mean,
that's something that,
that'll have a ripple effect, no? If
yeah,
one thing becomes
exactly.
better, I'm sure
Yeah,
other aspects of it connected to it will get better.
yeah,
And it's a cultural change we have to bring about.
absolutely.
It's not just at a certain level with people at who have access to certain
Hmm.
educational facilities.
Yeah.
It's a cultural change. And the cultural change will bring the change in mindset.
Hmm.
But anyway, this is a longer discussion,
Yeah, yeah,
maybe not meant
absolutely.
for this conversation.
Yeah.
So, how do you think you've changed as an artist over the course of the pandemic?
I
And
think being an artist during the pandemic, I'm sure this could be true for a lot of us.
hmm,
It had to, like, it kind of forced us to answer some of the tough questions
hmm,
that we have, that whole like self-doubt and everything that we're constantly, trying to navigate through.
hmm,
I think during the pandemic it was like, okay, no more gigs for a long time, no more touring, no more jams, no more friends. How are you going to do this? Like, what is your relationship with your art at its core? Do you really love it enough? I think that question really hit me in 2020. And I am, I think the fact that the answer was, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to release music. I'm going to keep doing this. And I'm going to kind of figure out what, like, just nurture the relationship that I have with my art and with my music in the most honest way possible. Um, I kind of really happy that obviously it comes with a lot of privilege. It comes with a lot of, support from my family and support from my friends that, you know, I've had. And I'm really lucky. I don't deny that at all. But
yes,
I think during the pandemic, just facing that question and
hmm,
that, during the hardest times when you can't make a living out of this, what are you going to do?
hmm,
Are
hmm,
you still going to keep doing it? And
true.
that's something that really helped me. And um, during, like, really helped me understand my own self a lot more. Like, I
Hmm,
feel like all
hmm,
of us as individuals have a universe outside that
true.
obviously shapes us, but there's also a whole world inside you as a person, as an individual. And I think for me, the pandemic was a time for me to tap into that and understand myself more.
That's true.
So and yeah, I think I'm happy with, the way I've been writing music since then, because I've had the chance to kind of just be honest with myself. And
Hmm,
that's
hmm,
something I
hmm.
always hold dear to me. Yeah. What about you? How was the pandemic for you? How was, like, writing
Uh,
music and
Actually, in the pandemic, there's some like I was right before the pandemic happened.
hmm.
My band was on a tour,
Oh.
and I was, uh, like every time I'd be back, I would just work on my studio. I was just constructing my
Hmm,
studio,
hmm, hmm.
Um and it so happened that I went on a longer tour than usual, and my wife got tired of um, all the raw material that was lying around because for the
Hmm,
studio, the
hmm.
wood and whatnot. So she saw the designs and she got it finished before I came back.
Oh my God. That is so sweet.
And so I'll tell you why I'm saying this, because during the pandemic, uh, fortunately, and
Hmm.
I mean, I know a lot of people suffered and everything.
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, the pandemic was not as unkind as it was to some other
Hmm.
people, some other musicians, and some other general
Hmm.
non-musician people as well. During pandemic, for some reason the advertising activity did not stop.
Yeah.
And the one thing people would ask you is, do you have a setup at home?
Hmm.
And I had a fully done studio, and the
Wow.
pandemic hit. Literally,
That
the
is lovely.
studio was finished, and the pandemic and the lockdown began. It was like that,
Wow.
within a matter of like a few days. And I would send them photos of my studio, and they're like, "Cool." So eventually, immediately, it became known that okay, Anand is one of the singers who can, or one of the composers who can work out of home, and
Hmm.
work will not stop.
Hmm.
So during most of the pandemic, my work didn't stop, and because other studios were not functional or whatnot,
Hmm.
like professional studios are not functional, my work volume kind of went up.
Hmm. Hmm.
So most of my pandemic was less introspection, less introspective, and more about executing deliveries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I learned in the pandemic was that um, I formed a group of people on like WhatsApp from. So my band has a fan page, a fan
Hmm.
group on WhatsApp.
Hmm.
From that group, I made a group of amateur producers. I still
Hmm.
think I am an amateur producer, and we made that group so that we can start discussing production techniques.
Hmm.
And through the course of that, I realized that I need to learn how to mix a track.
Hmm.
Before that, I was just merely producing and arranging and composing.
Hmm.
And I spent at least a year every
Hmm.
day, at
Hmm.
least 7 to 8 hours learning how to mix a track every
Wow.
day,
Wow.
7 days a week. That was,
That's crazy.
yeah, that was like every free minute I would just read up
Hmm.
articles and books
Hmm.
and watch tutorials and stuff like that, and basically explore my DAW a little bit
Hmm.
more. And
Hmm.
literally every day there's something new I know about Logic.
Yeah.
The day, I mean, just when I'm about to think, okay, now I think I know Logic good enough, and
Hmm.
there's something else,
Yeah.
you know. So I spent that time kind of sharpening my blades, so to
Hmm.
speak, where.
Hmm.
And immediately when I started, when I had this new knowledge with me, I
Hmm.
started my productions slowly started becoming better and better and
Hmm.
better.
Hmm.
I mean, so much so that when I now send my track to my mix engineer, he
Hmm.
himself says that your production used to be shit,
Hmm.
and I don't know what has happened in the pandemic.
Hmm.
you know it's drastically improved. I really enjoy mixing songs, and I think that's what I did in the pandemic.
Hmm.
It was less like it wasn't as philosophical an activity as yours, but whatever we did, I think it helped us.
Yeah.
So
So I was in Bombay before the pandemic. I had to move back. So I moved into a new house, and 3 days of after living there, after paying the deposit, after paying rent, I had to run
move
home
back,
because my
yeah.
mom was like, "Shit's going down.
आ
Pack
जाओ,
your
हाँ.
bags, आ जाओ." तो एक suitcase के साथ I took a flight, came here, one
तो
day before the lockdown.
और तो रेंट वो पूरे
So
साल का रेंट
tab,
दिया.
that was the most dramatic stage of my life. Like how we had to get out of that. Wasted a lot of money. Lots of money was lost.
Hmm.
Um, but we finally got out of that situation. 3 months of paying rent for no reason.
Hmm.
It was like, ugh,
Yeah,
still
because
like,
because the rents I remember were dropping like hot potatoes.
no, but
Like,
our landlord was like, didn't give a shit. He was like,
yeah.
I don't care. You pay
Ha,
me the
ha,
money. I don't
ha,
give a
ha.
shit. So that was a very traumatic thing. So now I'm finally like kind of moving back, have gathered the courage to kind of step back into
No, somebody with your talent needs to be in the entertainment capital of the country.
that's like, thank you. That's
Somebody
really
like, yeah,
sweet.
like
But
it's
I
what.
also love the city. It's like, I have this emotional connection to it. So now I'm finally like planning to move back, but living with my parents was really exactly what I needed at that point. I just
Hmm.
wanted to like just
Hmm.
focus on my music without
Hmm.
any stress and any distractions. And I was really lucky that the pandemic was not unkind to our family, but it was like I also started this little series called the Green Room Sessions, which was super fun. As you said, like learning new skills, like how to make videos, how to even social media was a world that I had totally neglected before this. But suddenly, like it started becoming a tool to just, connect with new
True.
people.
True.
Um, and I was teaching a lot actually. I suddenly everybody wanted to expand their hobbies. Even I started learning how to bake and cook,
Hmm.
so I had a bunch of students on Zoom. That's why like I know this little, how to navigate through this, because the whole time I was just on Zoom calls. But there was something like sweet about 2020. Like, I know it sounds like a really weird thing to say,
Yeah.
but I
But
do
have you
have
seen
some.
Death to 2020 on Netflix?
I love it. Have you seen Dead
It's
to 2021?
I haven't. I want to see
See
it.
that
I
also.
saw Death to 2020 and I was
Yeah,
dead. It was so
yeah.
funny.
It was so
Yeah.
funny. I watched, so we watched a lot of shit on Netflix party. Couple of my friends and I. Lots of Ludo happened. So, yeah, I would love to actually like meet and continue this conversation at some
For
point.
sure, for sure.